Welcome to the Give This Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Kai. This podcast is sponsored by the GPS Online program, which Forbes has stated helps entrepreneurs become professional speakers. For more information, go to christopherkai.com. Our guest today is AlAmodi. She is a businesswoman, investor, advisor, technologist, international board director, speaker, author, and teacher. Hajra, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So you've done a lot, and I see that you're like worldwide. It's like that, what was that, that Pitbull guy, he always says like Mr. Worldwide. I think you're like Miss Worldwide. So
yeah,
literally, if you look at Hadra's profile on LinkedIn, it's like US, India, in Chicago, Florida, the Middle East. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so tell us where you started feeling that you had an understanding of business and that you're very passionate about business. Like where were you? Like what were you doing, and what inspired you? Because I'm always curious about how people get started.
So when it comes to business, I guess it was really I would have to say it runs in the family. My dad is a longtime entrepreneur. He had multiple ventures, and I saw that growing up. And I was actually a science major. I was a science student, and my parents were hoping that I, go into medicine or something. And I think, I was always passionate about business and entrepreneurship, how economies functioned and worked. All this, was very interesting for me. And I think my interest kind of took me, where my heart was really, and that's how I really started off in business. I tried working full-time, different jobs, but it never worked out. 1 year into it, I was like totally bored, and I was like, what's next for me? So I guess, that's where it really comes from, the passion to be an entrepreneur, to, have that endless opportunities, to see that for myself and not feel limited in terms of, what I can achieve if I were to try for something. Those things were really important for me to, have that and to feel that, it exists, those opportunities actually exist for me.
Awesome. And what do you most love about business? Because like you said, your parents had suggested you go into different fields. So given that you've traveled the world, like what do you most enjoy about business?
With reference to business, I think, and I think that kind of led me to where I am today as well, because right now I work very actively with startups and young companies, small businesses. But I think, just the whole trajectory of how, one goes about thinking or, having this idea and then trying to materialize that idea, create something, and, the idea itself or the product, actually solving some significant problems in the society and turning that into a business and, creating an opportunity from that. The whole transition and how a startup kind of progresses from, the idea generation stage all the way to having an MVP and then, the kind of entering different markets. That was always very, very exciting to see that growth of a startup.
And what specific industries do you primarily enjoy focusing on?
So, I've worked in technology for a long time, and I do work with a lot of technology-oriented companies and startups. So I think that's where I see myself doing a lot of work, especially because it's a very growing, industry. There's a lot that's happening right now, different technologies popping up, and there's so much more.
What verticals though? Do you do fintech? Do you do real estate? Like what kind of direction? Impact, social impact, like what's?
Yeah, social impact investing would be one. And then, I'm also heavily involved with real estate. So I like to work with real estate technology-oriented companies who are trying to do something, because real estate significantly has been a very old, structured industry. And so there is definitely more need of, technological advancements in that. So trying to work with those type of startups.
And so what are some of the innovations in the real estate market that you think that might be coming up in the next few years?
I think, a lot has happened in terms of the buying and selling aspect of real estate. There's a lot of technology development over there, lots of different businesses offering very easy applications that, people can use, easy transactions that are happening because of those technologies and applications. But I think, there's a
specifically,
lot
are you talking like Zillow, like back in the day, they didn't have like Zillow or Redfin? Are you talking about, like, I don't know real estate, right? So I'm just curious because I want to give our listeners like more of a concrete, like.
Sure. So yeah, something like Zillow and Redfin, who are actually trying to get the agents out of the process, which are, really, I mean, nothing against the real estate agents, but, they're the ones that actually are the most, the biggest cost in the transaction. They're trying to do that, just make the whole process automated, just have it done online and really not have a need for a real estate agent to be a part of it. So that can save the buyers and sellers a very significant amount of money, thousands of dollars. So that's happening. Yeah. So that, and a lot of businesses are trying to adopt that right now. They're trying to do that.
Interesting. So so someone's like Uber and Lyft where, they do have drivers now, but eventually they'll be driverless. It's almost like real estate. Is that something that you think would be in the next 5 years or 10 years, or how close do you think that is?
I think with the whole pandemic right now, everything's kind of, taken a step or two steps back. So it's really going to depend on when this real estate industry comes back into picture and, becomes active and growing. And, once people start seeing that, I think these businesses are going to really, promote those type of transactions. Because right now, if you look at Zillow, companies like Zillow, they have also pulled back a little bit. They used to do a lot of online buying for themselves. And now they've stopped doing a whole lot of it because of the whole pandemic.
What do you mean
now.
Online buying? Like what is
Zillow? I mean, Zillow not only helps people buy and sell properties, but Zillow also buys it for themselves. So they are also, yeah.
Oh,
so
they actually buy properties too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
and the way they buy it actually is a lot of it is done just online. I mean, they don't really, have people going and checking out properties on their behalf, but yeah. So I mean, it's a different venture they're kind of, moving into right now. But they have kind of, stopped that for time being because of this whole current crisis we're going through. So once these things kind of normalize and, real estate again kind of picks up pace, we're going to see more traction in those type of transactions. You'll see a lot more of those transactions coming up in the market where there aren't any agents involved in the process. So thanks to technology, it definitely helps people save a lot of money.
Wow, but then what do you say to the realtors then?
Yeah, like I said, nothing against them.
That's a different conversation.
It's part of the change. This is how markets function.
Yeah, wow. So switching gears, I see 2020 Women on Boards. That's, again, you have so many things that you're involved with, Audra. I don't even know which to focus on, but with the 2020 Women on Boards, tell me more about that and what's that about?
So, I was born in India. I grew up in the Middle East, and I'm culturally different. When I came to the United States and I started working in technology, I realized very quickly, the biased treatment that existed in the industry towards women. Women of color especially, and women in general were just not taken very seriously. And I was going through those experiences, and I really wanted to kind of do something to kind of, bring about a change. I started talking a lot about these topics, giving presentations on those things at universities and colleges. And that pursuit basically led me to 2020 Women on Boards, because they were at the time. So the way 2020 came up is through this whole law that came in UK, United Kingdoms, where now they mandate that 30% of the board seats. Yeah. And we don't have anything like that in the United States. Nothing at the, at the central level, at the federal level. Yeah. So 2020 Women on Boards was trying to do that. In their way, they were trying to encourage and promote diversity and more women representation on corporate boards in the boardrooms, because the situation here is pretty dire as well in the United States. Very few women are on the corporate boards. So 2020 was doing that, and I was just starting to get interested in board positions at the time, and I realized very quickly, again, that, just like technology, the same situation existed in these corporate boards. Women were not given the opportunity, and it was a very difficult uphill climb to get a board seat for a woman. So I joined 2020 because I basically understood that, we were on the same side and they were doing the right thing. And I've been part of their campaign for about 4 or 5 years now. I've co-chaired the campaign for a couple of years now here in Chicago. And I tell you, it has made a significant difference. So the goal with 2020 Women on Boards, when they started off, and it's a fairly new organization, just like maybe about 5 years, 6 years old, was to have 20% women representation in the corporate boardrooms across America by the year 2020. And we actually achieved that last year. We went beyond 20%. We're like about 21% or so. So I think, it definitely created an awareness. They were part of the legislation that passed in state of California, where now they're mandating these public companies to have women on their boards. The 2020 Women on Boards was a very active part of that, getting that done. So, we are definitely bringing some changes, and I think I'm very happy and proud to say that, I was part of that, which is getting things better for us women here as well.
No, that's great. Again, you represent so many great promises and distinctions, Hajra, relative to being an immigrant, being a woman, coming from the Middle East. So I applaud what you're doing. How can our guests stay in touch with you and learn more about your great work? I give a lot of presentations. I also do a lot of writing, and if you just Google up my name, you should see a lot of different articles and websites where you have access to more information about some of the work that I've done, boards I've been a member of, and some of the other works that I'm doing right now. I'm a very passionate teacher. I enjoy teaching, and coming from an IT and technology background and having led projects and stuff. And I, as somebody who understands startups and that environment, I believe that project management is very critical to these entrepreneurs, to these founders, knowing these skills. So it's not just a great idea that creates a successful business, but it is also the process of going about doing it. So project management skills come into play over there, and I teach project management, and I've been trying to teach that to entrepreneurs and founders as well, helping them understand, how they can use those skills in order to successfully build their businesses. So those, I have some online courses. Yeah, so I've got some online courses based on that, and I also do one-on-one coaching. Nice. Well, Hajra, thanks again for being on our show, and we wish you the best. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.